Hi Aquarius, happy birthday and welcome to your February 2019 Tarology 33 reading. We have a Celtic Cross spread in front of us, normally 10 cards, but you guys got some extra cards that came out in that spread, and then we have 2 Oracle cards and then a Mudra card as well that we'll read at the end. As I was laying these cards out, it seemed like a bit of a confusing reading, so you guys are going to have to let me know if this does resonate with you or not. I either get the feeling that there's very much like 2 different groups of you guys, like one leaning one way, one another, or this just might be one of those things where it just resonates for a few of you. Hopefully it resonates with a lot of you, but we'll see. Maybe as we talk through it too, I'll get more of a full picture of what's going on, but some of the things going on with this seemed a bit odd as I was laying the cards out, but we'll see. I don't know if that's the eclipse energy or what, but we'll see. Let's get started. In the main situation position, we have the 3 of Wands. So this is actually an Aries card for me, and it represents the middle 10 degrees of Aries. And if I look at what's going on in the zodiac right now in those degrees, I'm actually recording this on the 19th of January, and Mars more or less just crossed into those degrees. So I'm like, okay, well, beyond that, what is Mars going to be doing as far as, any aspects that it might be making? And right when that eclipse is happening, which is going to be in your opposite sign of Leo, Mars will actually be squaring Saturn. So that could be a pretty tense connection right there. So that could be what this is pointing to on one hand, but on another, this could just be saying that you're waiting, the way that you might have heard this card referred to either by myself or other readers is waiting for your ships to come in. This is like an energy, it's like a mixture of Mars and the Sun energy, where it's like, all right, you put in the work, which is that Mars energy, and then the Sun is you wait for that recognition to come in for the work that you've done. So that could be the energy that you guys are into as we start the month. Or maybe even, like I said, as I'm recording this. So maybe even when we come into February, for those of you watching in February, you might have already been feeling like you were in this energy. And that would be common too, as far as, generally speaking, you have that little time where you rest up before your birthday and then you feel that re-energized forward movement. So maybe that's just the energy you guys have been in. You've put in the work, you've been laying low for a bit, and now you're waiting to reap the rewards of that work. In the challenge or obstacle position, we have the Lover's card. So this is the major arcana card for Gemini. Some of you could be dealing with a Gemini. That's certainly a possibility. The Lover's card, obviously, it's almost self-explanatory. This could also point to a love relationship. Another way that I was looking at this as well, though, is I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, there's nothing really going on in the sign of Gemini. But as far as your 3rd house, which is the house that Gemini naturally rules, we have Mars there, as I said, and it's going to be making that tough square with Saturn, which is in your 12th house, and then Uranus is also in that sign, and it's actually going to be squaring the Sun and Moon during this eclipse. So could just be a lot of energy that this is pointing to, saying that maybe that eclipse energy that you're going to be dealing with, and just that tension in general with the aspects going on in your 3rd house, could be holding up these results that you're waiting on, and maybe that's going to bring it to a culmination point. But for some of you, this could just be saying that you might be having difficulty in a love relationship. Maybe you feel, whether it's that you made an offer to someone for a relationship and you're waiting to hear back from them. Maybe you guys have been on the outs with each other. If you're in an existing relationship, maybe you've been waiting for them to come back around. If you guys have had some conflict, for the past 18 months, for the most part, you guys had the North Node moving through your opposite sign. So that could have caused you guys to walk away from certain relationships and might have brought some new ones along the way as well. Generally speaking, when it moves through that house, anything that does leave was meant to leave, and any new relationships you build around that time as well they also tend to withstand the test of time, or at the very least tend to help your soul growth in a large way. So maybe that's just the dynamics you guys have been dealing with for a while now, and it's moved on into the sign of Cancer now, the North Node, which is your sixth house. So generally speaking, it's like you're freed of that energy for the most part. But now the fact to me that you have that last eclipse happening right at 0 degrees Leo, to me represents that culmination point. It's like a check-in, if you will, to see if you integrated those lessons that you were supposed to learn during that time or what. And, if you hadn't put in that work or hadn't integrated those lessons, then it's certainly possible that there could be some abrupt change that comes about with that. Especially, like I said, with Uranus at play too, which is your ruler no less, and it's going to be squaring the sun and moon. So definitely could have some impact for you guys. All right, in the foundation position, we have the Eight of Pentacles. So this could just be saying that you guys have been focusing on your work. That's certainly a possibility. I mean, you guys had Scorpio moving through your 10th house, which is a career house, through a lot of 2018, and it's moved on from there now. But now, basically around the same time, the North Node shifted into your 6th house, which is another house that tends to deal with work. And especially, this is a Virgo card for me, the first 10 degrees of Virgo. And Virgo is the natural ruler of the 6th house. So this could just be pointing to, you might have been making some shifts in your routines. Maybe some of you have started a new career. This could represent working for yourself too. It's like a apprentice type card. You're learning a craft on your own and really taking joy in doing so. So that could be what some of you are dealing with right now. But to me, this just shows that you're putting in work towards something. All right, in the past position, we have the Ace of Swords. So it's like I say in my readings, the way I view the Ace, it's not necessarily something that's actually communicated to you in this case, but it could just be more of an idea. You might have had an epiphany, let's say. So, it might not have been anything that anyone in particular said to you that brought you to that point, but maybe it's just something that came to you out of the blue. The reason I say that is if you look at the ace, it always looks like that hand is just coming from the clouds, right? So I view that as more of an idea rather than something tangible. Like let's say the page, for example, if it was the Page of Swords, they would be holding the actual sword. You'd see a person holding the sword. So to me, that's usually more of, okay, someone's communicating something to you or you're communicating something to someone else. With the aces, to me, it's more like an idea. So this could just be that you came to some kind of conclusion in some area of life. Again, it could have been work. Like I said, maybe some of you guys decided that you wanted to go into business for yourselves, for example. That's one way that could certainly play out. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing there. And as we go along, I'll mention why I think this could be pertaining to relationships, though. That is one of the possibilities I mentioned with the Lovers, but as we go along, I'll come back to why that could be the case. In the present position, we have the Queen of Wands. And it won't focus for some reason. But the Queen of Wands is the court card for Aries. So, to me, again, going back to what's going on in the sign of Aries, I think that this more has to do with you being ready to communicate something. With the Ace of Swords in the past position, with Mars in your 3rd house, and Uranus, which is your ruler, also in the 3rd house, and it's going to, be activated by that eclipse. So to me, that could bring some sudden communication out of you. Maybe something that you've been holding in for a while. Maybe you finally expressed that. And like I said, with those energies at play, it could come out in a very abrupt way. Especially, like I said, that you add on top of that eclipse energy, you also have Mars will be squaring Capricorn, or rather squaring Saturn in Capricorn, which is your 12th house. So 12th house is, sometimes things that we keep hidden in our subconscious. So, this could have been just something that you've had on your mind for a long time now, and maybe those two energies come into play. really force it out of you. The square usually does bring some kind of action, but it could come across as abrupt. Versus, let's say, a trine connection, which could be more smooth and positive. The square is almost like something boiling over. And when we get into February, Mars will continue moving through the sign of Aries, and then it'll actually square Pluto in Capricorn as well. So both of those connections, they could definitely bring some volatile communications out. And if it's the case, like I said, given that this is the 12th house we're talking about, it's things that you probably had inside for a long time, and for whatever reason you hadn't communicated them. And maybe that's what the Lovers, again, representing Gemini, the natural ruler of the third house of communication. Maybe that's just saying that this is something you've had to say for a long time. Maybe you've just been waiting for things to fix themselves. Maybe that's what this energy is about there. And now finally you realize, you know what, I have to just say it. But like I said, just be careful. It could come out in a bit of a volatile way with those connections. It's still kind of necessary for it to come out, if you will, but if you can, try to temper how it comes out if that's the case. In the near future position, we have the moon. So, this is easy enough of a connection to make astrologically as well. Like I was just saying, basically a couple days after, I'm recording this, we're going to have that eclipse in your opposite sign. That's a lunar eclipse. And then 2 weeks after that, you're going to have a new moon in your sign. So that could just be pointing out to the timeline there, saying that the time between these two, this full moon and then the new moon in your sign won't be an eclipse. It'll just be a regular new moon. And there's not really any harsh aspects with it or anything. It'll kind of be quiet. It'll actually be conjunct Mercury, though. So again, going back to that whole communication thing. So if we look at it that way, it could be saying that if you do find you have something you want to communicate and you might be a little concerned about how it may come out, maybe you can try to wait until that new moon, because Mercury with that new moon might help you communicate it a little bit more positively. And not only that too, if this moon, sometimes people say the moon is about deception. I wouldn't say it's about deception as far as, someone intentionally trying to be deceptive towards you, more of you might not be seeing things clearly. So let's say, again, since this is that a lunar eclipse is going to be in your opposite sign, maybe you won't be seeing something clearly in a relationship. And your instinct, especially with Mars in your third and Uranus in your third, might be to just let someone have it, right? And they may deserve it. I'm not saying that if you really truly know that they do, that's fine. But if you're a bit on the fence about it, try to give it a couple weeks when that new moon energy hits. Because like I said, it will be a bit quieter at that point, and Mercury will be in a supportive position with it. That Mars and Pluto square might still be somewhat at play at that point, but it should just overall be a quieter time. Because like the moon, like I said, while it wouldn't necessarily be deception, it could just be that you're not seeing things as clearly. And the way I describe it is, if you're in an unfamiliar room, and usually I use a hotel room as an example, and you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and you don't want to turn on the lights and wake the other person in the room up, you might, get up out of bed without the light on, and you try to feel your way around the room, right? Because no one moved the furniture around while you were sleeping, but you're just unfamiliar with where everything is, so you have to feel it out. So that's not deception, right? It's just that you have to feel things out. You're not seeing the whole picture. So try to, rely a little bit more on your intuition if that's the case. All right, in the position of your influence on the situation, we had a few cards come up. We have the Six of Pentacles, the Two of Swords, and the Death card. So the thing that came to my mind immediately with this, and this is going back a bit more to what I was saying with the Ace of Swords. If this is a romantic relationship, what this could be saying to me, usually when I see a card like this sandwiched between two other cards, it's pointing to the two energies you're trying to decide between. So the one energy would be to, continue to put in effort, right? To rebalance things. So like I said, especially if there was a conflict between the two of you, you might be deciding, well, do I want to, try to restore balance in this connection, or do I just want to move on from it, right? With the death card there, saying, do I just want to let it go altogether? So that's what, if we look at the three cards, one sword pointing towards that Six of Pentacles, the other pointing towards the death card, and you're trying to decide which one do I want to decide on. And then if we look at the moon there, to me that's, closer to a new moon than a full moon, right? So to me, that almost points back to what I was saying too. If you can, try to wait until that new moon to make your decision, if that's the case. But yeah, that's really the vibe that I'm getting. And you know what? It doesn't have to just necessarily be romantic relationships with the seventh house too. It could just be partnerships in general. So it could be a business partnership, for example. You might be deciding, do I want to continue to dedicate time, energy, effort, resources towards this business partnership or romantic relationship, or do I just want to move on? And again, when the North Node was moving through your seventh house, that's a lot of what it was forcing you to look at. And like I said, even though it's out of your seventh house now, with that final eclipse coming in that sign, that could, in your opposite sign, that could just be saying that this is the culmination point, that last test to say, okay, have you integrated these lessons? Are you ready to move forward or what? And like I said, with the other planetary energies that play around that, might not come out in the smoothest way. But like I said, if you could ride it out until that new moon in your sign, that might be helpful. That's going to be up to you guys if you want to try to do that or not. Assuming this even resonates with you. Like I said, this kind of seemed like a bit of a weird spread to me, but hopefully you guys are getting something out of it. And then in the position of the environment's influence on the situation, we have the Ten of Swords. So, when I look at the environment position, a lot of times it can represent another person and their influence on the situation, but at other times it could represent the energies at play and their influence on the situation. So to me, yes, for some of you, this could be someone ending something with you. That's certainly a possibility. But I'm getting more of a vibe that this is pointing to all of those energies that I've already spoken about over and over again. It could just be saying that all of those energies are bringing this energy about, which is to say, if there is something that, if you've known for a while now, like I said, this is a realization you came to in the past, and, maybe you've just been trying to wait it out to see if things get better, right? You haven't felt comfortable communicating it. Now with all those things go on in your third house being activated, and tense connections at that, it might just bring it out of you in a very abrupt way, and it might cause an ending, or at the very least might cause the person that you communicate in this way to feel like that. Put another way, you might just really let someone have it, basically. And it's one thing if they truly do deserve it, then hey, it is what it is. But like I said, with that moon energy in the near future, and like I said, just looking at how volatile the energy can be around that full moon, if you can just give it that 2-week window, depending on how much you value the connection, try to, if you can. If not, this might be the end result. And, would it be possible to recover from that? Sure. But obviously, it'd be easier if you avoided it altogether, if it really did turn out that you just weren't seeing something clearly. And, I look at the King of Wands at the bottom of the deck too, and I almost see that like it's looking at the Queen of Wands. So that could certainly point to a relationship dynamic as well, obviously. But I almost view that as that full moon looking at the connection with your ruler and your third house, saying, so are you going to communicate this or what? If it's something that you really had to say to someone for a long time, you've just been putting it off, I almost view it as like that eclipse being that gatekeeper, like, so are you going to do this or what? But that's just a vibe I'm getting. And I almost even look at this too, like another thing of like you trying to decide between the two energies, right? Like she has the flower in one hand, like, do I want to extend an olive branch to this person, or do I want to beat them over the head with a stick, right? It's like you have those two decisions that you're weighing in your mind and trying to decide which way to go forward. It's just a vibe I'm getting. So like I said, this could just end up being one of those types of readings that only resonates with a few of you, but it's like it's clear in a way, but then it's not. If that makes any sense, it's like, all right, I could see how this could apply to a few people, but I don't necessarily see this as a type of energy that would play out for most of you. So very odd feel to this reading. But in the position of your hopes or fears, we have the Sun card. So, I mean, naturally, the sun will be returning to your sign. Like I said, basically, a couple of days after I'm recording this, you'll have the sun in your sign, and for the first few weeks in February, you will. But with this in a hopes or fears position, to me, I view this as a hope. Obviously, this is generally a positive card, no matter what, when it's in the upright. So this could just be saying that you're hoping to feel this way again. Maybe you've been feeling down. And you just want to feel that playful, vibrant energy again. For some of you, it could certainly be possible that you are dealing with the Leo and you're hoping to restore balance with them and for your relationship with them to feel this way. You could just, but it could just be saying that you just feel weighed down in general in some ways. And, I almost look at the parallel of looking at the sunflower there, right? I was just talking about the Queen of Wands, and now I see the sunflowers there too, saying that you just might feel like you have a lot of responsibilities and they almost feel like a burden to you at this point, and you just want to go back to that time when things seem more playful and light. That could be what's going on for some of you. But another way this could be saying too is if you are feeling this energy, like you feel like you're not seeing things clearly, right? Not everything's out in the open. You can't see the light in a certain situation. That could just be saying that that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for the sun to shine to, show you what's really going on underneath the surface if you're not sure about what's going on. But like I always tell people, with the hopes or fears, it's not necessarily something that points to an energy that's actually going to play out in the reading. It's just more something that's in your mind. So yeah, there's that. And then in the outcome position, we have the King of Cups. So this is the court card for Scorpio. So this could just be saying, again, with the Eight of Pentacles at the foundation, Six of Pentacles here, this could just be saying that you decide, whether you are having relationship difficulties or not. And maybe this was trying to balance between your relationships and your career as well. Again, because like I said, the Leo energy there, that's your 7th house, and then Scorpio, which you had in this position as well, with the Death card under there, is also, that's your 10th house. So that could have been what this Lover's energy is about too, trying to balance, the career aspects of your life and your love relationship, and maybe that's been a bit difficult. But what I'm seeing here as well is with that card coming up there, this could just be pointing to, again, if we're trying to see, well, what would you decide, right? Would you decide to continue to put effort in or just move on from the connection? With that being another Scorpio energy, that could just be saying that you're choosing to go the Death card route, which is to say, you're going to end the connection, which would certainly seem to support that Ten of Swords energy being there, and move on. That's certainly a possibility. Like I said, if you're on the fence about that, which could certainly be the case with the Moon card showing up in the near future, saying that you're not seeing things clearly, you're not sure right now. The Three of Wands is another energy of not taking action. It's like you're waiting for something, waiting to see something. If that's what you're feeling, try to wait it out into the new moon, if nothing else. If you still feel that way, and then, you might end up in that energy, looks like for some of you, you would move on. And like I said, that doesn't just have to be romantic relationships either. It could also be work, a work partnership, business partnership. Maybe you've been trying to hold down 2 jobs, your regular 9 to 5 and also your side business. And maybe you're deciding, maybe it's burning you out. You're like, all right, well, I need to decide. Do I want to continue with my side business, kind of make it a permanent thing, or do I want to, maybe fall back on that and try to dedicate more of my energy to my regular 9 to 5, right? Or vice versa. So That could be what's going on there. And then we'll move on to the oracle cards now to see if they'll give us some insight. So to continue the weirdness of this reading, when I was shuffling to get the oracle card from this deck, it came out sideways. Like, it very clearly, it wasn't like it fell at a bit of an angle one way or the other. It fell perfectly sideways like this. And so to me, it's like it's not, that could be to me an energy representing that some of you are feeling one way, others are feeling another. Like, you're very much on opposite ends of an issue right now. But on top of that too, the actual card itself is round and round. So again, to me, that could be pointing to the fact that I got a feeling like this is something that's been going on for a while now, and you've just been on the fence about what you want to do. And the fact that it fell sideways just seems to emphasize that even more, which is to say you're really not sure. Do you want to move on? Do you not want to move on? But with the fact that it fell sideways, it's like, all right, it didn't necessarily come out in the upright or reverse. The way that they have this deck set up is if it comes out in the reverse, there's a protection message, it's called. So normally if it's in the upright, I read the main messages. If it's in the reverse, I read the protection message. Since it came out sideways, I'm going to read all of them with the thought that maybe the upright messages will resonate for some of you, and then for others of you, the reverse will resonate. So we'll see if that's the case. Like I said, the card itself, round and round. There's the artwork for it, and it's number 25. So let's go through those messages. All right. It says, the spiral quality of events when a lesson isn't quite integrated. Cycles you are challenged to break, revisiting a pattern from a new perspective. The Oracle's message. The appearance of this card is a reminder that although it may appear that you've gone backwards, the truth is that you are standing at a higher level, looking down into your circumstances. You will learn something, do something better, and break a cycle set up in the past. You actually have a bird's eye view of your initial footprints and can access the wisdom and lessons learned. All right, the relationship message says, are you wondering, how did I get here again? Does something feel familiar right now in your dynamic with others? Maybe a little too familiar? Don't be surprised that you found yourself repeating an old story with the same sort of person who may not look similar, but who attracted you because of your easy acquaintance with his or her qualities. Your relationship is a mix of what is good and what is potentially challenging. You have been drawn to this person through the perfection of Spirit's plan for your evolution. You may have circled back to an accustomed spot, a familiar place, but that's fine, as you get to do things again, only differently this time, for you learned something of great value since the last time around. How will you choose to behave now that you're aware? Remain curious and stay out of the blame game. So that certainly seems like an interesting message there, and I almost feel like that could just be saying maybe you end up in a relationship where, my first instinct when I look at this card is I always think of balance being restored. But maybe that could be part of the problem you feel, right? It feels like you guys are never quite equals in your relationship, right? You might always feel like one person's doing all the giving at one point, and the other person's doing all the giving at the other point. Almost like a push-pull. You feel like you guys are never really working together. It's more of, oh, all right, this person's not putting in the effort, fine, I'll go put in the effort. Almost like it's more like feels more like a chore than an actual natural organic thing. Maybe that's what some of you guys are feeling. And it's like, all right, well, maybe, if you've been in that dynamic before, it's saying, is this really helping your soul growth? Do you feel like this really fits what you want or what? And like I said, that would certainly align with the lessons that the North Node was trying to teach you as it moved through your 7th house. And while it's out of there now, that final eclipse right at 0 degrees Leo might be the one that asks you that question one last time. That's going to be the last eclipse on the Leo-Aquarius axis for 9 years, too. So, wouldn't surprise me if you guys felt that heavy energy that one last time. All right, then the prosperity message says, if you're in a scenario that appears to be an echo of something that's already happened in the past in your work life, it is because you're being invited to see what you couldn't see before. This is a perfect time for you to look at the deeper motives you have and your attraction to the opportunities and people who have entered your life to be part of your journey to prosperity. Who helps you navigate? Who sabotages you? Who supports you? What are the familiar signs and your responses to them when you find yourself in a repeat of a pattern of the past? It's a good time to get a coach or mentor who can help you see what you can't on your own. Repeat what works, not what doesn't. Then you will free yourself from the old cycles and cease going round and round. So that sounds like a pretty good message too, maybe that's what that Ten of Swords is about too, right? Maybe you're finding out that there's someone in your environment that has been holding you back in some way, right? Like I said, for a lot of you, I feel like this is you ending something with someone else. But maybe you're finding out, obviously the term that comes to mind when you look at this is backstabbers. Maybe you'll find that people have been doing things behind your back, and maybe this full moon to new moon energy, maybe some of that will be exposed at that time. Something to think about there. Maybe that's what that King of Cups energy is too, saying that, Scorpio is very intuitive. They're a fellow fixed sign just like you, but, they have that water energy, and, could just be saying that that's what happens. Maybe things that you weren't seeing before, you see them more clearly through this month. Alright, and now the protection message, like I said, that would have been if it did come in the reverse, so that normally I don't read the protection unless it does, but since it came outside, we'll read it. It says, are you refusing to see your own personal responsibility for repeating lessons you don't need to relearn? You have to surrender now to the fact that you are the common denominator in all these repeat performances. Be happy, for this is a wonderful spot to be in. You can now see the cycles that you wish to exit. Once you figure out that you have the power to stop going round and round, you possess the key to your freedom. Be good to yourself. It's not about blame, but accountability. You can have the abundant life filled with love and prosperity that Spirit so wants for you. So, I didn't necessarily see that like, let's say if you had maybe an Eight of Swords energy, right? Then that could be maybe you're not wanting to look at things. But, maybe that's what the Two of Swords is pointing to, not looking at your role in these dynamics, right? That's certainly a possibility. That might just be for some of you. Like I said, it came out sideways, which gives me the feeling that for some of you, the upright would have resonated. And then for some of you, the reverse message would have resonated. All right, we'll move on to the next oracle card, and this is from the Spirit Animal Oracle, and you guys got Pig Spirit. It says use your mind wisely, and that's number 47, in case that number has any significance for any of you out there. We'll read the message for that next. Alright, it says, Pig Spirit appears to remind you of the right use of intelligence, a gift we all have that is meant to be used with love, compassion, and discernment. Intelligence means recognizing the value of intuition partnered with smarts and common sense, which leads to intelligent solutions. When Pig Spirit appears, you are called to respect your analytical mind and use it for the highest good, recognizing that all facts must be considered even when they do not fit what you already know. Spirit blesses us with wisdom when we allow Pig Spirit to nudge us into open-minded, thoughtful dialogues, whether with others or internally, as we mull over our ideas and what we have come to understand. You are intelligent and capable of clear-minded thinking, shaped by the wisdom you have accumulated and intuition that will tell you when you have more learning to do, because not all facts are in. Now is a time that your decision-making powers are reliable, for you are in alignment with Pig Spirit's keen intelligence. So, what stood out to me about that was it says, you are intelligent and capable of clear-minded thinking shaped by the wisdom you have accumulated and the intuition that will tell you when you have more learning to do because not all the facts are in. So that could be what this is pointing to there, the moon card saying not all the facts are in, right? You can't see things necessarily fully clearly. And then with that King of Cups energy, and also the fact, like I said, you do have the Death card here, which could just be saying rather than ending something flat out, it's just that you're taking on that Scorpio energy, being in touch with your intuitive side. Maybe that's going to be what helps you get over the hump in that situation. All right, and then the final thing that I have is a mudra card. For those of you guys who didn't see this when I did it last month, basically what a mudra card is, what a mudra rather is basically it's a hand gesture that you make usually while you're meditating. Usually you should hold it for at least about 5 minutes. Some would say you hold it for 30 to 45 minutes. If you have that level of patience, more power to you. But 5 minutes is a bit more reasonable, especially if you don't normally meditate anyway. And this could just be an easier way to do it, right? You don't have to do an all-out routine. You could just hold this hand gesture and meditate for a few minutes. So, basically there's tons of these, and they help to remove different blockages in different areas of life. The keyword for this one is perspective, which actually fits quite well with some of the stuff we were just talking about with the Oracle card there. It's actually the Ashvaratna mudra, and I'll basically let this focus so you guys can screenshot it if you want to read about it a bit. And I'll just move it up so you can see the rest of what the card says as well. You could see it says for the benefits, it says balances earth, water, and fire elements, benefiting digestion, circulation, and overall vitality, cuts through ego clinging and narrow-mindedness, gives new perspective on your choices and life's path. So I think it's kind of cool that this card came out, actually, now that I'm looking at the benefits part, because I think, we have fire here, we have earth, we have water, and you guys are an air sign. So that's like, those are the other three elements at play, basically. So it's interesting that it actually said it helps you balance those other aspects. So, it could just be saying, integrating those other areas of your life. And it looks like water might be the primary one since we had the Scorpio energy come up twice. But, hopefully that resonated with you guys. Like I said, this reading seemed a bit weird at first, but actually as I started to go through it did seem to make a bit more sense. Just maybe that it just might have been one of those that won't resonate with a lot of you, might just resonate with a few of you. But hopefully all of you got something out of it. But feel free to let me know in the comment section. And if you guys want a personal reading, you could check out the About section of my page for more info there. And you could also follow me on Instagram, where we have a little bit more fun with astrology and tarot there, all right? But once again, happy birthday, guys, and I'll talk to you next month. Bye.